I love being an entrepreneur and hosting this top 2.5% global show to bring you authentic talks with successful founders of companies and brands. My entrepreneurial journey started after I was left for dead. Let's learn the impactful journey of today's guest now.
The most obvious one is unpaid invoices. You're out there, you're winning deals, you're closing deals, but that doesn't mean that they're paying you straight away. People will put payment terms of 30, 60, 90 days. But as soon as you have that invoice raised and agreed with the client, you can unlock cash straight away out of that. So just that is an asset you can use no matter what.
Entrepreneurs, do I have a treat in store for you today? In our guest Ciaran's words, when it comes to banking, small and medium-sized enterprises have been behind the curve, often getting massively overcharged for making transactions so they can help reduce spending. Buckle up because we've got the co-founder of Swoop with us today. Ciaran, great to see you and thank you for joining that entrepreneur show.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, Vincent. Looking forward to chatting to you today.
I'm excited, and he's streaming in from London today, right?
Yeah, sitting here in London town in the basking 30-degree heat. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'll be in Dallas from next week, so I'm expecting it to go up a few more degrees.
Yeah, as we're recording this, we're dealing with a crazy heat wave across the country, somehow overlooking Florida, but we've already hit 94 degrees yesterday. And I'm the type of guy that traded my snowflakes for palm trees, though. I was done with the cold. I was tired of the snow, so I can deal with the heat. It's the price we pay. But everyone, I want to welcome you back to That Entrepreneur Show, the #1 podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Thank you for making this a top 2.5% global series. And today, I will not let you down with another amazing guest. Since 2018, he's helped 250,000 businesses in over 6 countries unlock over $2 billion in funding across loans, investments, grants. So we're going to learn a lot about how to get that stuff, but we're also, of course, going to dive into his journey because he had a lot of hard work lead him up to this point where now he closes in on 300,000 businesses helped. I know that wasn't the main goal when you first got started, Ciaran. Walk us through why you wanted to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, great question, Vincent. I think just one of those people that just had a stupid amount of energy, and I find it really hard to control that energy in a corporate environment because I just wanted to do things, move things around, and I started off things in KPMG, wonderful business, but you're very much in a kind of a slipstream. And straight away, I was like, geez, I really struggle to handle this. Like, I really want to give off opportunity and create things. And naturally, that just kind of threw me down the pathway of entrepreneurship where you've got that kind of complete blank canvas to go out and start building and creating and making a difference. So I think I always sensed it. And then as soon as I discovered it, it's a pathway I'm never letting go of.
Yes, the pros and cons in every business exist, but there are pros and cons in entrepreneurship. One of the ones for me is the freedom of dictating my day, my schedule, and that comes with a price to pay, maybe working weekends or maybe doing really early work or really late work, but that's something I enjoy. What is one of your favorite parts about being on your own?
Yeah, it's that they kind of control your own destiny. You could, it's just that level that you can have such high impact in your decision making. And I love that. Whatever decision that you decide to make can have a massive impact straight away, both in terms of yourself or the customer that you're about to engage with, the partner you're going to engage with. There's no other barriers or people that you have to get through to make that a reality. And that level of quick impact is just something that I get such good energy from. And that's why I kind of love being an entrepreneur.
I love that. Now I'm, of course, going to have to ask, it's not all sunshine. What are some of the more difficult or challenging parts of being on your own?
Absolutely. It's so important to say that, like, we project all the goodness, but it's massively chaotic and madness behind the scenes. And it's like whack-a-mole. One thing is going right, the other thing is going wrong. So it's absolutely important to really emphasize that it's super challenging. I think everyone gravitates towards this, but it's a super important point is people. So the people that you decide to bring on your journey with you are super important because they can make a material difference in terms of how you grow or how you impact with your customers. And as you grow as a business, as you mature, you often need different types of skill sets, and you need to realize that. So one of the biggest challenging is understanding what people you need and how you bring them into your organization or how you exit them from your organization. I think that is a super tough challenge, always going to be there, but I think it's super important for all business owners to be cognizant of how hard it is and just embrace it. But no, it's a super challenge that's never going on.
Well, one of the great things you've done, and of course, everyone, I'm not lying, we'll get into all of the great ways you can get funding for your business, but he's talking a lot about not finding ways to be alone, growing your skill sets, and something that's truly awesome here he's done outside of his normal go-to is he started the creative network Hive, which now has over 150,000 members, 4,000 businesses, including Google, BBC, Sony. What led you to want to create this amazing community? And everyone, this is the beauty of entrepreneurship. It's not like when I had my corporate job trying to look better than the person next to you. Entrepreneurship, we are always trying to lend a hand, whether it's the network, whether it's some advice, whether it's some skill sets. What led you to create this?
Yeah, well, I think this is not unique to any kind of country, but sometimes in the creative industry, so I'm talking TV, fashion, film, advertising, animation, it was very hard to get into those industries unless you're in the mega city of that state or that country. Now, we've obviously had a lot of AI and things recently and Netflix and those sort of things, and they help break down those geographic barriers. But ultimately, at the time when we were setting up High, everything was centralized in that big city. But you had all this amazing creative talent all around the country, all around different countries. And so, what we want to do first and foremost is give them a platform to absolutely showcase their skill set, their creativity, how they shoot, how they capture, how they write, and then democratize that. So how do we do that? On the other side, we started finding brilliant organizations, some of you'd listed, that were crowdsourcing productions, advertising campaigns, documentaries they wanted to shoot, or advertisements that they want to run. And then we allowed the collective community to be able to pitch, to showcase their creative talent. So all of a sudden, you kind of create that sense of democratization in terms of connecting the best creative talent, no matter where they were based. And because you had a platform, you could do it on such a big scale. So we started doing it with those crowdsourcing productions, and then we started to do it at a talent level for jobs or graduate programs. We used to place like the graduates in some of the biggest TV stations. And again, we were able to really cast that net into as wide a platform as possible. So it really started with that kind of pain point around geographic access.
I absolutely love that. Well, I'm not going to ask much about the early days because it surely has evolved. What's one of the newer rollouts or features you've had for this community now that it's scaled and grown to hundreds of thousands of people, which is so great to see?
Yeah, so I think from a swoop perspective, a lot of like the early days was like, let's just get you your funding. And a lot of the time, people just wanted a loan. It's like, get them that loan as quickly as possible. But what we noticed is all these business owners, when they were getting the money in to do what they needed to do to grow, to survive, they actually had to give quite a bit of data. So you could give your bank statements or give your income statement. And so what we were able to do is from that data that we were collecting as part of the transaction, was give them value back to them. So what we now do as a platform and as a product is saying, yeah, let's go get you funding, but let's have a look at this data. Okay, you're spending this on insurance, you're spending this on energy, you're spending this on banking, this on FX. Is this good? Is this bad based on the size of business you are? Here's your next renewal date. Hey, do you fancy saving a couple of $1,000? Yeah, sure. That sounds great. So it's about making that long-term connection of, yeah, you came on to take a bit of credit with us. You've now increased the amount of money coming out of your bank account. How can we counterbalance that? And a lot of our kind of features as a platform is to be that virtual CFO. Obviously, AI help us a lot now with a lot of the LLMs, but we can quickly get in, identify from the data where they're overexposed or overspending and help kind of reduce that back down. And that's kind of been a bit of a killer feature for us over the last couple of months.
Well, that's exciting. Everyone, stick around to the end of the show. Find out exactly where to find more on our guest and the websites for all the great thing he does. We just previewed Hive. Again, built this amazing entrepreneurial community, but his main go-to He's on the show. He's already won the Deloitte 2023 Technology Fast 50 Award. He's the co-founder of Swoop. I teased it earlier. It's a fintech platform that acts as a virtual CFO, helps you get the right funding. What is often the biggest hurdle for people trying to get funding? And that's how you solve this pain point.
The banks. People haven't a clue where to go to get funding. Business owners are running around because they love being a business owner and passionate, but then when it comes to money, they don't know where to go. And we used to live in a world 20 years ago where there was banks everywhere. You knew your bank manager. You could walk down the street. There will be a branch there for that. That does not exist. And banks don't want to bank the small business. So the biggest pain point is like, where's my bank gone? My bank manager just said, actually, don't worry. There are great news is over the last 10, 15 years, there are so many options available to you, but realizing it's not the end of the world if the bank says no. The second big daunting thing is like, oh, whoa, when I open my eyes, it's like, whoa, there's so many options here, man. Oh my God, how do I wade through that? And that's kind of why we're trying to come in and be like, hey, great news. You've got a gazillion options, but let's take a moment. Let's look at a little bit of data in your business and then find the one or two that are right for you right now. It could be because of price. It could be I needed it yesterday. It could be from a cash flow perspective. So it's just understanding your motivations and then finding that right one for you, depending on your scenario.
I love that advice. Everyone, you know by now, if you're in entrepreneurship, you can't give up. This is another area that is, if you are in the need of funding, because for certain sectors and industries, funding is essential. Don't let a bank saying no or someone else
Yes.
saying no to give you that stop and just quit, because he's got some great options here today, and we're going to keep getting a lot of value out of him. I know that venture capital may be the most obvious for some, but I know you're very familiar with alternative funding strategies that every founder should know. I'd love to dive into that.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, yeah, people think of VC funding, but VC funding, it can be torturous. Like, and I don't use that word lightly because it can take so long to get that. And it's such a low percentage chance. So all the while cash flow is king. And then also some people are like, oh, but I'm loss making. That doesn't mean that there's not options available to you. You need to look at your business and see what are the tangible or intangible assets that a alternative finance provider will look at as a way to giving me cash. The most obvious one is unpaid invoices. You're out there, you're winning deals, you're closing deals, but that doesn't mean that they're paying you straight away. People will put payment terms of 30, 60, 90 days. But as soon as you have that invoice raised and agreed with the client, you can unlock cash straight away out of that. So just that is an asset you can use no matter what. Other things that people don't think about is you make some big asset purchase decisions. You might want to buy machinery, photocopies, printers, tractors. You don't need to buy it. You can lease it. You can get that on a monthly fee. So therefore your cash position doesn't get hit with these big purchase decisions. So thinking about it like that, you start to sell, you sell online to Shopify, you sell through Toast, a payment platform. All of that data can be leveraged and get cash against it. So whatever you're getting on a monthly basis, it's pretty, once you get above that $5,000 per month, you're going to have options coming at you. You can start to advance those money and then you repay it through future payments. And then obviously there's the traditional side of financing. So as you look at your trading activity and the revenue and the EBITDA that you're generating, you can get traditional term lending against that. But you've got so many different options that are available to you. Within the US, you've got the Small Business Administration Program. So lots of great options for early stage businesses, startups, people taking on franchises, where they can look at things like the SBA 7A Fast Track Program, where you can get up to $350,000 in a relatively short period of time. So we've been helping people open up Subways, F45 gyms, FS8 gyms. So there's just so much options available to you. It's just about opening the eyes and seeing what is the most relevant for me right now.
If you think he's giving you a lot of value, we're literally just getting started. I now want to pivot into something else that I know you add a lot of value to others with. It's the $2 billion success playbook. You focus on case studies about real businesses unlocking funding and then how we can learn from seeing these situations. Let's dive right into that. I hope you're enjoying today's show as much as I am leading the discussion. Remember to subscribe to stay current on our shows.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really seeing like what's going to make a big difference to this business now. So a lot of the time, as we kind of touched on, it could be we need this money now. So okay, what can we get you straight away? So what bit of your business is it? The profitability? Is it the invoices? Is it the assets that we can leverage to get cash through the door? But we don't always have to think that is just now. All alternative finance providers and banks are always going to be hungry for activity. So as long as you are thinking always about the business and how it moves, that financing can move with you. So yes, you might take something and start using it for 3, 6 months. That can be refinanced and reshaped. So it's really important to think like that. And that's what our business owners are often thinking about on the platform. And that's why you're seeing a lot of utilization, why we've been able to do 2 billion in funding, because yes, it's about securing something that can there again, but we're always looking, as you say, from a virtual CFO perspective to say, hey, get that now. Let's refinance that. Let's look at that on better terms. So you're always moving and working with that business. The other crucial thing is it doesn't always have to be about lending. We're about blended cost of capital. Our job is to show you the whole market. Guess what? There's not just loans. There's investment. There's grants. There's trade credits. There's research and tax development grants available to you. What is your business scenario? What is it? Where are you based? Are you adding more jobs? Are you in a sector that's interesting? So there could be a grant. The grants don't always have to come from the government. People might say there's a certain government in at the moment. They may not be that favorable grants. But hey, most people have a website. They have a server. Guess what? AWS, GCP, Azure, they love tech business. They love new businesses. They want to get you started. So they have so many grant programs to get you up and running, getting your first $10,000, $100,000 covered in your hosting costs. So don't always think grant equals government. There are private companies that have advantageous systems. Get out there, use them, be aware of them, particularly if you're in that kind of young tech business starting out. It's super important to be aware.
Amazing advice, everyone. You learned a little bit about funding. You've learned some grants, alternative strategies, but say funding is the one that's sticking to you. You really want to raise funds. Ciaran, I'd love to ask, what are some fail-proof funding tips that can help our listeners avoid the biggest mistakes while raising capital?
Yeah. So yeah, getting on to kind of funding and equity funding, it is a tough market out there. So you have to be investor ready, and you kind of have to get rid of the ego in some respects, because some people, why you see people fail is it's great. You've got the confidence and your business is great, but you got to realize investors are cutthroat, they're cold blooded. At the end of the day, they just want to deploy capital to make a return on it. And you kind of need to think a bit like them. So they have no attention spans whatsoever. So those kind of opening emails for that first 3 pages of the deck, they need to be as good as humanly possible. It's not about closing everything in that email or that deck. It's opening the door a little bit so you can get on the phone with them or you can go and meet them. So don't try and do everything at the beginning. Get their curiosity. How do you get their curiosity? What are your unfair advantages? If you're starting off as a business, you're not going to have too much traction. So it's got to be about you or how you can get into a network or partnership that give you an unfair advantage. As soon as you start trading, all they care about really is your numbers and your people. So what do we mean about numbers? If you're a B2C business, I need to know everything on that customer flow. I need to know how much it requires to cost to acquire a customer. I need to know how much it costs to acquire a funded customer. When they're funded, how long do they stay with you? What is the value you're generating? Are they repeating? Are they coming back? Do the people that come back in 2024 look different to the people that come back in 2023? I need you to articulate all these different points. And then from that, is it scalable? How are you showing that scalable? If you can then show that you are generating revenue, doing it in a repeatable fashion and have a lever to scale, that is exactly what you just need to focus on over and over again and land that front and center, and then get the meetings, work it through, and then build in all the data, all the information. But focus on those key crucial points at the beginning to get them in the room.
I love how you're focusing on laying the right foundation in entrepreneurship. It's not a race. The Musks and the Bezos glamorize entrepreneurship, but as we talked about earlier, it's a grind and you've got to do things in a certain way. Otherwise, you'll go 10 step back. You just talked about scaling though. Any advice you can give maybe our more seasoned entrepreneurs tuning in? Some scaling tips as you started to make those leaps and bounds?
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to see where are the inefficiencies in your end-to-end journey. So like you need to analyze a sale, and a sale just isn't about an individual at the end of the day sending an email, closing it, money coming in the bank account. The sales start way earlier. How did you acquire that customer? What did anyone in your team do have to do that? Did they run an ad? Did someone have to call them? Did an email have to send? When they came and engaged with you, how many people needed to touch that? How many people needed to service that? Can that be reduced? Can that be made more efficient? Once they come in, do they do the work? Do you do the work? If you can start to show that the customer is doing it a lot, they're coming back, they're utilizing it, like then you're onto a bit of a winning formula. So from a seasoned entrepreneur that's generating great revenue, great EBITDA, but wants to look for that external financing from a VC type of play, the bit they probably need to dig a little bit deeper on is like, how can I automate this a little bit more? Because that gives me my scaling capability to do this much more efficiently or on a bigger areas. That's the lens that they need to be looking at when thinking about, okay, if I do want this VC money, that's what they're going to be analyzing within my business. Is that an opportunity there to drive those efficiencies, to do it at a higher level of volume?
Automations, building systems, finding waste. These are all great pieces of advice. I know everyone, you're anxious to get his contact info, his website. He's been on fire today. So that brings me to the end here. I've got to ask Ciaran if you could pick any entrepreneur, dead or alive, one that you haven't had a chance to meet yet. Whose brain would you choose to pick?
What a question. I think I love all the neobanks because, as you may have guessed, I find banks so inefficient. It drives me mental. But I think the one that I would probably go for is the CEO of Revolut, Nikolai. So Revolut is a European neobank, and it's got a personal bias from me. As you can tell from my accent, I'm Irish. We basically have two banks in Ireland, and they have a complete monopoly. So they don't really need to innovate because they just churn the same thing out. Revolut have 3 million Irish customers. We have 6 million people. That means one in every two people have a Revolut bank account. They have completely changed the game because you've got a small market, but they understand what people need and innovate at a product level. And I just loved it. The moment I saw it, I was like, I just need this. And straight away, as soon as I saw crowdfunding, I was like, I'm putting some money into that thing. This thing is going to fly. And it absolutely has. But they're restless. You're getting notifications of fucking features coming at you left, right, and center. And I just love that tenacity that's still there today, despite them being a gazillion billion, whatever valuation they're at now. And so absolutely to answer your question, I'd love to meet Nikolai of the founder of Revolut.
Well, you touched on some great points there. Being a unique customer experience, right? Giving the customers what they need, not what you think they want. Great piece of advice that can carry across all industries. Where would the meeting go down if you could pick the meeting location too?
Well, I think we're both based in London, so I think probably for convenience, we'll probably just take it somewhere in London.
Do you have a favorite coffee shop or something for someone who's never been to London? If they do come, where do we got to
Yeah,
stop?
yeah. If you want a really great coffee, I actually just came from there. You probably tell me I'm so hyped. It's a place called Hagen, just off Regent Street, which is in central London. Best coffee in town. They actually have a sign that says "Best coffee in town" outside. And I'd agree with.
I absolutely love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join me across the country for another episode here on That Entrepreneur Show. What they've all been waiting for. Where can we find you to say hello? Where can we learn more about your companies, maybe websites, anything? Please share.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Vincent. Swoopfunding.com, SWOOP funding.com, and you can find us, and we'd be delighted to help you.
I love it. I got to ask, when you picked that name, walk us through the name selection. That's such a great name.
Yeah. Oh my God. Me and my co-founder were spending months and we're like, no, that's terrible. That's terrible. That's terrible. And then my co-founder was Googling killing two birds with one stone. And so one fell swoop. And that's what swoop is all about. It's like, come to us once, you give us your data once, we will look after everything else in one fell swoop.
I love it. I love how you said going back and forth for months and months. I can relate, especially as an early entrepreneur. You're wasting a lot of time with things and you're trying to be perfect and there will never be perfect. And he just found something that is great representation of his brand. I hope that entrepreneur show covers the same way because that is a money name. Everyone be sure to connect with him. Ciaran Burke, he's on LinkedIn. He's got his website for you to go ahead, check out funding options. My name is Vincent A. Lancy. Please remember to subscribe today to stay current with our community of entrepreneurs. You'll never know who you miss. You might have missed Ciaran's show today if you're not subscribed. So I can't thank you enough for bringing a lot of great value, much needed information to a lot of entrepreneurs. I love how you highlighted the multiple ways to obtain money because everyone's situation is different. You may want to do something that doesn't seem right. Okay. Let's go to Ciaran's website. Let's check out all he has to offer. He's a great resource, and I'm glad to add him to my network here. Ciaran, thank you so much for joining us here on That Entrepreneur Show.
Cheers, Vincent. Thank you so much.